Now for the track guide. Before starting, if you enjoyed this video, giving it a like and a subscribe, it's a free way to support the channel as I can continue to create more content like this. Also, check out my sim racing course in the video description. Now going into the track guide itself, for T1 my reference for braking is the 300 meters board. I will brake slightly before it, so at this point in time I'm already applying the brakes. Super important here to avoid peaking 100, so I'm braking around 93 peak and then I'm dropping, because if you will go all the time in 100% brake pressure, you will stay too much into ABS, you will overheat the tire, and over a whole race it's gonna be slower. So avoid hitting 100 into the heavy braking corners. And now here it's super important in second gear to get as close as you can to this curb. So the lap time can be found here if you're willing to risk getting closer. If you will avoid it slightly and you will apex at the white line instead of going a bit slightly towards the curb, you will lose like 0.05 and you won't be able to go on throttle that early. So almost kissing that curb without going over it, because if you go over it then the car will bounce forward and you will lose all the momentum. So high risk, high reward, but the moment that you arrive at the curb, that's the moment that you should push the throttle, because the car will be unbalanced. The car will feel like the rear will want to step out a bit, and the moment that you push throttle, not only you will go and you will gain a bit of time on exit, but you will use your throttle to make the platform stable, to get that neutral balance out of the car. So this is super important here. Don't go all the way to this curb on the left. Have the car on the center left, but not all the way towards the left, because it's gonna be impossible to take the next one without losing speed. And for this one, what I have in mind is I just want to do a lift here, but I don't want to lift from 100 to 0. So I will try to do the smallest lift while cutting as much as I can here near the grass. So notice I'm dropping to 33 and then bringing back up in second gear, arriving all the way to the other side to the curb. This is fine, because for the next corner we don't want to over prepare it by bringing in the center of the car. Staying on the right side is fine. Now I'm mounting this curb right here like this to shorten the distance towards the next corner. So you can do that, you won't lose anything. And for this one, I'm just looking in the middle of this curb. So my reference for braking and turning will be the moment that I put the car in the middle of the curb. But if you delay the moment that you will arrive there, meaning if you will stay a bit more towards the right, it might be too late. So you want to shorten the distance through here, but don't overdo it, because then you will arrive a bit later in your position. But the moment that I arrive and I have my tire on the white line here, almost in the center of the curve, that's the moment where I'm applying the brakes. And I'm not downshifting to second. Keep in mind I'm using the fixed setup here. So in third gear, just dabbing the brakes to get some rotation out of the car, and stay on the brakes, like trail brake like I'm doing right now, holding 5%, 6, 10, 11, 12, 2, 1. So you see, I'm just holding the brakes up until I see the car is getting pointed, and the moment that I arrive at this curve, that's the moment where I go on throttle. I almost want to brush this grass on the right side. In third gear, keeping the throttle pinned. The earlier you're gonna be on throttle, the more time you're gonna gain, since this is a big straight. And also, you don't want to avoid arriving here towards the left. Like, this is fine. Even if you hit this curbing on the left, it's still gonna be fine, because you're gonna be able to take everything flat. One short mention here, don't go on top of this curb. So try to go around it like this. You can kiss it a bit, but if you take it too much of that curve, then you will lose a bit of traction on this straight. So simply avoid it. Now for the next corner, again the 300 is gonna be your reference for braking. So slightly past 300 in this time. So similar with T1, just slightly past 300. I'm applying the brakes. Again, I don't want to go to 100. For a hot lap you can go to 100, but for a race stream you want to stay a bit shy of 100. And while I'm braking and downshifting into the corner in second gear, I want to apply the throttle super early here. Same principle as T1, you will gain on the exit, but also you will make the platform stable. So notice that at this point in time I'm already on throttle here. So if you find yourself that you're applying the throttle on the exit, or you have a gap in your inputs, that's clearly a mistake. You want to be early on throttle here to make the car stable, because if you will brake this late and this hard, all the weight is going to be on the front tires and the rear will have so less grip The moment you apply the throttle, you give the rear tires a bit more grip. That's the idea behind it. As close as you can to this curbing again. If you can go pixel close to it, you will gain time. High risk, high reward, because if you hit it, then you will lose a lot. And now for the next corner, if you arrive here towards the left, not ideal. I think my car should have been just a tiny bit more towards the left. Sorry, so if you arrive to the right, it's not ideal. You want to be a bit more center right than completely right. But definitely you can carry a lot of speed. Now for this corner, you have to just do a small lift if you will be all the way to the right, or you can take it almost flat if you're a bit more center right. And here I like to apply the brakes. So I'm braking. I think I should have braked a tiny bit harder here just to make the car point a bit sooner. And if you're gonna brake a bit harder, you can brake later as well to make up for that. But what you want to have on the exit is the car being here in the center, slightly center left. Don't go all the way to the left, don't sacrifice this much, but you want to sacrifice a bit this corner because this one again leads to a bigger straight. So the way that we think about this sequence of corners is like this. Here, if we don't sacrifice it, if we take it almost flat, then we will obviously gain time just in this part of the corner, but it's such a short part of the corner that the time we're gonna lose on the next part, because it's a longer straight, will offset the time that we gained here, so in the end we will lose time. That's why we choose to sacrifice this corner. So just give it a tiny bit of a brake, or a later but a bit harder brake, stay in the center left, and now the moment that I'm braking here, I'm not having a reference for braking. I'm just braking and turning at the same time based on the distance that I'm seeing. So I'm looking at the apex, I judge the distance, and at this point in time I'm applying the brake. I'm not braking that hard, but I'm downshifting to second gear, and this is key. And now you want to be instantly back on throttle the moment that you cut this curb. Off-track limit is having your left tires on the curbing, on the left, or actually on the white line, not on the curbing, so still on the tarmac. Push the throttle early, you will gain time here on this exit, so this will be mega nice to prepare for this straight. And now for the last part of the lap, I'm braking before the 200, so at this point in time I'm applying the brakes. Braking in a straight line heavily, avoid hitting 100 once again. Going in second gear, again very close to this curbing, as close as you can. The problem was that I was braking a bit too late, and now I go on throttle a bit later, you see. So it's not the end of the world, because the straight that I have here until the next corner is not that big, so I'm not losing that much. But the problem is that the car was not rotated enough because of that speed. So I arrive into this part of the track, which will compromise my next corner. So in this corner I lost probably 1/10, just because I was all the way to the left. You want to be center left, but you don't want to touch this curbing or the white line. So be a bit more towards the right side on the exit. Bring the car as close as you can to the white line. It's not gonna be possible to be glued on the white line, but you really want to have a good exit out of this corner, because it's the longest straight of the track. So you can maximize it only if you choose to sacrifice a bit this one, like this part. Bring the car all the way to the right, and then when turning into this corner in second gear, I'm staying on the brakes up until my tire will be near the grass here. When my tire is here, I'm applying the throttle, and in short, that's the track guide. Again, if you want to improve at a quicker pace, check out my course. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.